Hey everyone, welcome to the Canine Culture Podcast, where we talk about everything dog. Q&As with veterinarian professionals, rescue operators, everyday topics. We cover everything dog on this podcast. So make sure you subscribe to the Canine Culture Podcast on your favorite podcast platform, and make sure you're following us on social media on both Instagram and Facebook. Thanks again for listening. Now here's that next episode. Hey everyone, welcome to the Canine Culture Podcast. This is your host, Brittany, and today we are joined by Stephanie and Daniel, the owners of Fur Finder Pet Recovery in Jacksonville, Florida. Thank you guys for joining us.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, of course.
So tell us a little bit about Fur Finder and what you guys do.
Yeah, so we primarily use thermal drones to help find lost cats and dogs. It's pretty straightforward. That's what we do.
And what prompted you guys to start Fur Finder?
Yeah, so maybe she can talk a little bit more about this after, but she volunteers at pet shelters like most Saturdays, probably the most generous person I know. And there was just one instance where she got a dog successfully adopted. That dog went home and then got lost like within a couple hours of getting out. And I was called because she knows that I kind of used to fly drones as like a hobbyist just to get pictures and videos. She said, hey, can you bring your drone down and just see, what we can do? We didn't find the dog with the drone that time because that was a very basic drone at the time, but we kind of got in contact with someone out there named Jackie, and she recommended that if we wanted to do this on a more regular basis and take it more seriously, that we should look into getting a thermal drone. Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what she did. She volunteered to kind of, front the cash to get us going. These drones are not cheap. And once again, super generous of her. And yeah, it kind of was history from there. It was great.
Cool. And for people listening, so we get this a lot. My husband's a photographer, and he does drone footage for like properties and weddings, and those drones are different than a thermal drone. So people are just like, hey, you have a drone, come out. And it's like, we can come out, but we're probably not going to see anything, especially with tree cover, depending on how dark it is. So tell us a little bit about the thermal drone.
Yeah, so thermal is a super cool technology. It is limiting in some regard where it doesn't really penetrate anything. And by that, I mean, like if a dog is under a car or like in a house, we're not going to see it. But if a dog is out in the open or even under like really light foliage, like in a loosely not dense forest, for example, we will actually be able to see the dog's heat signature within 2% of accuracy. So, for example, we know that the average, body temperature of a certain breed of dog is like 98.7 degrees or something like that. We'll be able to see that exact temperature on our screen in Celsius to be able to match a dog and like not a deer, for example. Okay. So it's very accurate when it comes to that, yeah.
And can the drone spot dogs, cats? Could people call you if their chicken got out, if their horse got out? Are those kind of options? Are there any pets that you couldn't do, like a turtle or something like that?
Yeah, anything with a hard shell is probably going to be a no, just because those thermal signatures are a lot harder to track, like a turtle, for example. But yeah, we've actually accidentally caught chickens running around a coop in someone's backyard a couple times. Obviously, dogs are very easy, even smaller ones. We've done cats. I'd say really the only limiting factor is the size. If it's a very small animal, like, I don't know, if it was like a baby kitten or something, maybe it'd be a little bit more difficult. But we've been able to differentiate between like possums and baby deer in backyards. That was actually one that we ran into like just a couple times ago. We saw a family of deer right behind the house, and we were very quickly able to tell that wasn't what we were looking for.
Okay, that's cool. I didn't know you could kind of tell. I thought maybe, you would see something and be like, is that a raccoon or a puppy,
Yeah. The biggest giveaway too isn't even like the body temperature. It's like the movement of it, We were out a little bit south of Jacksonville recently, and we ran into someone that was looking for like an 8-pound dog. And we thought we had it at one point, like a few blocks away in their neighborhood. And then we saw that creature like jump on a fence, and we were like, oh, that's a cat. Okay, false alarm. So, yeah.
And then speaking of Jacksonville, so what are the areas that you currently cover?
We do Northeast Florida in general. And that can mean, all the way up to the border of Georgia, honestly, probably as far south as about St. John's. But, okay. We encourage anyone to give us a call, and then we'll kind of be able to realistically give you expectations from there.
And then in Florida, especially Northeast Florida, we have a ton of trees. Are there any issues, especially if it's a very heavily wooded area? Is that going to be an issue for the drone?
It's always hard to say. Like I said kind of earlier, if it's like a loosely populated forest, we can always, what we do is we fly the drone over the trees at about 100 feet above the height of the trees and just point the camera directly down. That gives us the most visualization, across the foliage. But if it's like the Amazon jungle, wherever you are, then, no, point blank, we just won't be able to do much about it. But we'll tell you that, we kind of survey the area before we get out there, and we won't charge you, obviously, if we don't think it's going to be worth it.
Okay. What about water? So let's say a dog maybe falls into a pool, a river, a lake. Would you be able to spot them with the drone if they were in the water?
Yeah. If it's a retention pond, for example, is the most common case that we see. In neighborhoods, there's usually several of them. If your dog is kind of just like treading water out there in the middle of the pond, yeah, we'll absolutely see them, no problem.
Okay. And let's take this a step back. So hopefully no one needs to call you, and you just have a really cool drone that you use on your own. So what are tips for preventing losing your dog? And I know this sounds simple, but this isn't intuitive for everyone. Yeah, so definitely. What are some tips you guys have?
I'll definitely let Stephanie take this one.
Okay.
So, always make sure you have identification on your dog. And when you take them out, have them on a leash, a properly secured leash and collar or harness system. A lot of dogs get out there like, I just let them out front really quick to go. But at the end of the day, they're dogs. They're going to see that bird and they may run.
Right.
Most dogs do not have 100% recall. So that's one main thing. Just make sure that your pets are secure. Make sure before they go in and out the door. I have baby gates up because I do have dogs and foster dogs. I make sure my fencing is secure around the entire yard. I actually purchase little things that go 18 inches into the ground to make sure they can't dig out. Because a little tiny small dog, like a Pomeranian, they can go through very small holes.
Right.
And one recovery we had, the hole was probably only about 4 inches and the dog got through.
Oh, wow.
Through the sod, yeah. So a lot of preventative just on that piece of it, getting in and out of the car. Make sure they're secured in the vehicle before you open the door, whether it's tying the leash up or you have a seatbelt pet safety harness on them.
And then let's talk about someone calls you and you are helping them look for a pet. What are some tips maybe? And where I'm leading with this is you see people all the time. They find a lost dog and they just run at it and the dog bolts. And so if someone is working with you and they're trying to recover their lost dog, what are some tips or tricks or techniques that you guys normally suggest?
Yeah, so that is unfortunately the most common thing we see is that, we'll do a search for like 2 hours, we'll spot the dog, and then the owner will immediately chase after the dog, and because the dog is in, what we call like a survival mode, they'll get so close to getting the dog back, and then, it's as if nothing ever happened, and then we won't see the dog again for days. So yeah, I can't stress enough, just do not chase the dog. You need to basically sit on the ground and just let the dog come to you. I wish we had our ground recovery person that we partner with, Jacqueline. She is amazing. She's been doing this for a long time, and she would have a lot more insight to give you than I would, honestly. But we do have a page on our website that kind of details like a bunch of steps and tricks that you can kind of take from the point that you call us until we get there. Things like leaving your clothes out, pieces of your clothes, things that just have a strong smell like socks. They're kind of nasty, but they'll carry that smell that dogs and cats can smell for miles.
Right.
Additionally, post on social media and get some flyers out locally in that neighborhood. Flyers on the post, on the mailbox really help, because if someone sees that dog in the neighborhood and put on there, do not chase, please just contact. Because we want to work with ground recovery crews. Working together will help keep more dogs off the streets.
And those ground recovery crews, are they able to bring out cages like for trapping and stuff like that?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, Jacqueline's got the whole lot. When she comes out, she brings out humane cages. She spends like 30 minutes to 45 minutes, honestly, just explaining to the person what they can do in their area. Have you checked here? Have you tried this? She'll give them bait. She'll give them Vienna sausages because they smell really good to them, So yeah, absolutely. There's a lot there.
Okay. And then if someone needs to contact you, how do you suggest that they get a hold of you? What's the quickest way?
The quickest way is calling us. It's 904-800-6115. Second easiest is just emailing us. It's contact@furfinderfl.com. but probably the easiest for people is just going to our website. That's furfinderfl.com, and you'll see a form on there that you can fill out. If you call us, we ask that you fill out that form anyways, just to get as much information from you before we show up that we can. Things like, what your dog is wearing, behaviors of your dog, last seen location, stuff like that.
Okay. And then are you guys going to be at any events in Northeast Florida? So if anyone wants to come meet you, chat with you, do you guys have anything coming up?
Yeah, we just went to one last Saturday that was super fun. That was our first one. It was called Pups for Pints. Super recommend that everyone goes to that next year. And then we're going to one on April 12th. Do you remember what it's called?
Hounds.
Oh my God. Heroes for Hounds. That's what it's called.
Yes.
Yeah. Super excited about that one. Yeah.
Yes, Heroes for Hounds.
All right. And then social media, where can people find you guys on Facebook? And do you have an Instagram?
We have an Instagram with a whole 9 followers. So that would be great if people could follow us on there as well. Yeah, we're on Facebook. We have a Facebook page called Fur Finder Pet Recovery with our logo, the little like black paw with like the location thing in the middle. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for being on. Anyone listening, if you're local to Jacksonville, make sure you go and follow them and share with your fellow pet parents.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to the Canine Culture Podcast. Please make sure you subscribe to the Canine Culture Podcast on your favorite podcast platform, and make sure you're following us on social media. If you have any recommendations, any topics that you'd like to hear, if you know of any guests that would be good for the show, or if you yourself want to be a guest, please reach out to us. Send us an email at canineculturepodcast@gmail.com, or send us a direct message on social media. Thank you for listening, and please share this with any of your dog-loving friends.